Thanks for staying here with us. We are the home of African stories. Through and through, we go straight wherever it is breaking, and we will bring it to you on a platter of gold. That's why we're News Central, and we're going straight to South Africa. So journey with us. Convicted murderer and Paralympian Oscar Pistorius is preparing to go to court over a decision to deny him bail. The parole board made the decision on Friday. Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, on Valentines Day 2013, if you do recall.
Absolutely. He was initially convicted for culpable homicide in the High Court, but the Supreme Court of Appeal later convicted him of murder. Steenkamp's family lawyer had this to say.
Well, it's a very traumatic experience, as you can imagine. It's painful. June has to face Oscar Pistorius again this morning. He's the killer of her daughter. For them, it's a life sentence. He's eligible to be considered for placement on parole. They don't feel that he should be released. They feel that he has shown no remorse. He's not rehabilitated, because if he had been, he would have come clean and told the true story of what happened that night. The Supreme Court of Appeal found that he hasn't divulged everything that happened that night, and that's the position that they also hold.
Joining us this morning to further examine the story is South African journalist and editor Diane Hawker. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
Well, this is a very sad story, but one that has been going on for about 10 years now. Pistorius initially convicted of culpable homicide, which carried a maximum sentence of 5 years that was later changed to 13 and 5 months. So we'd like you to run us through, a brief background of all that has happened so far and how that has affected his parole.
Well, I actually covered the Oscar Pistorius trial when he was initially on trial in Pretoria. And your viewers will remember it was a massive case, not only for South Africans, but also for those watching around the world. So when he was initially convicted of culpable homicide, I think there was quite a bit of a confusion, because the evidence in the case really focused on whether he had committed murder. The culpable homicide was considered quite a light sentence for what had taken place. And there was this issue of how the shooting had taken place, which really was central to the case. Now, in South African law, there's different ways that you can be convicted of murder. Whether you intend to kill that particular person is not relevant. What was relevant is whether he intended to kill whoever he thought was behind that bathroom door. And that's why his sentence was ultimately changed from one of 5 years to 13 years and 5 months. And that's also quite relevant to his parole period, because with the culpable homicide sentence, he would have actually been eligible for parole after just 10 months. With the murder conviction, he then would have had to stay and serve at least half of that sentence. And this is where we stand at this point, with Oscar Pistorius' legal team arguing that he has served the amount of time that he was meant to, and that he should be released on bail. However, on Friday, the parole board found otherwise, taking issue with the timing that he had taken to actually come forward with his application.
Well, the Department of Correctional Services says the calculation of his parole date was actually incorrect. Do you mind telling us how this could have happened?
Yeah, so while the cases were being appealed between the High Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal, Oscar Pistorius did spend some time behind bars serving his initial sentence. And his calculation of how long he's been behind bars is based on the fact that he went to jail in 2014 when he was initially convicted. However, the Supreme Court, the Department of Correctional Services is saying that the murder sentence actually started after that, and that he should still spend at least another year in prison. And that's where that discrepancy is coming in. Now, it's not clear why the calculation is not the same, but that is where there's this misunderstanding about when he should actually be applying for parole.
Let's talk about the reactions to this. Pistorius still had a parole hearing, and of course we know that the Steenkamp family took part, but we've seen that there's been they've strongly opposed this. They've gotten support from a number of South Africans as well. Give us the reaction, the general reaction to people in South Africa as regards Oscar Pistorius' parole application.
Yeah, so as your clip had there earlier on, the Steenkamp family is quite unhappy about this parole process. Firstly, because as part of the parole process, the person who's been convicted can engage with the family of the victim. And Oscar Pistorius was actually moved to a correctional services facility closer to the Steenkamp family so that he can actually speak to them and lay forward his case. However, the Steenkamp family doesn't feel as if he has given the full information of what actually took place on that night, and that he's still holding back some information, and they are actually not happy with his application. What will happen is that when he eventually does go for his next parole hearing, and this can happen even 2 or 3 more times depending on how the process unfolds, he can put his own representation forward as to why he believes he should be set free. But they can also put forward their own representation to say why they don't believe he should be set free. And at this point, it doesn't seem like they will be in favor. There are, of course, other women's groups that have supported the Steenkamp family since the trial, and they are still of the view that he should remain behind bars. And then there are those who believe that Oscar Pistorius has served his time and should be allowed back into society to continue with his life.
All right, we did see the arrival of June Steenkamp, the mother of the late Reeva Steenkamp, arriving at the court. And she still believes that Oscar Pistorius has not in any way said everything that happened or claimed that he did that on purpose. Well, there are a lot of statements here and there and reactions from different people as well, but she still feels he has not been rehabilitated enough. So she has her feelings. That's the family of the late Reeva Steenkamp. The prison has said, listen, you are not due yet for parole. Oscar Pistorius, on the other hand, is seeking to get that parole. In all of this, what's the next move for the Blade Runner?
Well, the next move would be for his legal representatives to actually lodge a formal application in court to have him released, or to have him actually have another parole hearing. His legal team has already indicated that they intend to do that. They believe that the correctional services calculation of his time in prison was incorrect. And we have seen this take place in other cases, like, for example, most recently with the Janus Valus case, where there was an application made to court to lobby for his release, saying that the parole board's decision was incorrect. In terms of the Oscar Pistorius case, he will most likely go initially to the High Court again to argue that the term is that he has actually completed his minimum service term, and then he would have to go for another parole hearing in which the Steenkamp family and any other people that can be considered victims of this crime will be able to participate in. Him going for that parole hearing, however, does not automatically mean that he'll be granted parole. It just means that he will get the hearing in front of the parole board, and they will ultimately still be able to make their own decision based on various circumstances, whether they feel he's rehabilitated enough, his time in prison and how he has behaved as a prisoner, as well as the feelings of the victims.
Well, we do hope that everything goes according to plan. We'll definitely keep in touch with you, Diane Hawker, and get the latest stories, especially concerning Oscar Pistorius all the way from South Africa. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.